Okay, so now we're going to begin the questions from the audience. This is what I've received in just this short time that we've been up here. Some of these are directed. Some of these are directed to specific candidates. Some of these will be directed to each and every one of you. So we're going to allow 1 minute to answer each of the questions from our audience. And remember, audience, when I get to your question, I'm going to mention your name. Please stand. I will ask the question, and then you can have a seat. Okay. This first question is directed to each and every one of you. So we're going to start with Ms. Gonzalez. Okay, this question is from Linda Davila. There's Linda. Please describe your personal experience of serving your community through city or county appointments and/or the groups dedicated to education.
I served on the Small Business Advisory Board. I served on the San Antonio Development Agency, and more recently I've been working with the Advocates Youth Boxing Program. I was a volunteer trainer and also helped the children set up some tournaments so that they could compete. I have been also working with, I'm on the group called Leadership SAISD, and it's a group of concerned citizens that are advocating for the students of San Antonio Independent School District.
Thank you. Mr. Medina, I'm sorry, Mr. Garcia. I broke my own rule. I apologize for that.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. It's okay. I have been involved in public service since I was a child. My parents instilled that we needed to give back. I was a youth mentor. I was involved in the CYO as well as catechism at Resurrection of the Lord, the church that I attended as a child. I have also mentored children at Southside High School as a quasi-band director, a leader, and also privately mentored several youths as I was building my business separately. There was no formal organization, but took people in, showed them how to build a business, showed them how to get involved in their community, and as well as being involved with athletics and arts. Those are the things that I've been involved with as a public servant. I've never been on any boards or commissions. I've applied for several in the past 4 years, have not gotten any returns to any of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Briones.
My personal experience, I have not served on any city or county appointments, so generally a lot of my work has been in the grassroots, has been on the ground level, has been working with community organizations that are run by people that aren't politicians. I've worked with the Esperanza Center. It's a great organization. They have the Paseo del West Side, and also a lot of, use a lot of great programming. San Anto Cultural Arts, which is an amazing organization, actually having an event tonight at 6 o'clock. You should go. They're going to have a printmaking workshop. It's amazing. Also the West Side Dog Initiative, which does a lot of public work towards educating, awareness towards stray dogs, definitely, helping. That is a huge issue in District 5, and that helps alleviate some of those problems. I've worked with the DREAM Act, and I've also worked with Unite Here. I tend to look at, definitely my community service. I'm giving back to the community. They're not paid positions, and they don't come with all the accolades of having an appointment, but I'm proud of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ramirez.
I also haven't served on any appointments that fall in this category. This is actually my first venture into giving back to my community of District 5. I have done individual works that have helped families in need and families in crisis. More specifically, I have helped with the organization to help a family who had recently lost a child to CHD. My fiance and I we helped put together a music act of independent music acts of San Antonio, where we donated our time and some of our artwork up for charity so the funds can go to the family who is still undergoing the financial hardship of the CHD battle, which they ultimately lost. This has been commonplace in my family, where we give objects, our prized objects, and to help families in need, and we hope we can do that with District 5 on a larger scale.
Thank you. Mr. Cardenas.
As far as boards and commissions, I've served on the city's 16 commission. I've served as a board member of the South San Antonio Chamber of Commerce. I sat on the Texas Diabetes Institute SADAC, which is the Diabetes Education Board at TDI, Parent Advisory Board, Calderon Boys and Girls Club, CYO Board for San Juan de los Lagos. I've also sat on the board of the Avenida Guadalupe. These things are all things that brought me aware of what's going on in the district, what's going on with the needs of the individuals. And I can tell you that the proudest thing that I had is the 12 boys that I coached while living here in the district. They all graduated from high school and all have families. Some of them are coaches, some of them are government contractors. But through coaching and being a role model for those boys was one of my best things that I bring to the table.
Thank you. Okay, this next question is directed to all of you again, and we're going to start off with Mr. Garcia. The question comes from Linda Libby. Linda Libby. There's Linda. Her question is this: what do you consider to be the best way to increase citizen involvement in local government of their communities?
By attempting to engage them repeatedly. We can't just give up and say they're not going to give their, or give them some sort of carrot that we're going to promise anything. We've got to continue to engage them, meet with them, block with them, lead by example. The organizations that are strong and that do exist, that there are a few of them, but they are there. They need to lead by example and continue to reach out that hand. Shake somebody's hand that you wouldn't normally shake. Say hello to somebody that you wouldn't normally. Let them know that we care about them, that they are welcome. Let's bring them in and motivate them to get involved and become part of their community, an active part of a community. All of us have made mistakes. Let's not let those mistakes define our future. Let's move forward and come together. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Briones.
I think this is an important issue. Generally, if you look at the census for District 5, there's about 130,000 people, not 130 people, I'm sorry, and about 3,000 people voted last city election. So that's a huge thing, and what that tells me is that people are kind of turned off. People are turned off by negativity. People are turned off by divisiveness. People are turned off by the same old, same old. They're turned off by career politicians. What I want to do to increase citizen involvement is get people excited again, get people to look around them and see this is a beautiful neighborhood, this is a beautiful community. We have lots of assets. We should be cherishing and honoring this rich history and culture as well as character. I do want to get them excited. I want to definitely lead by example as well as reach out to them and not be divisive, not be negative. And I mean, we're all citizens of San Antonio, and I think it's a great thing and we need to be proud of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cardenas. Oh, I apologize. We still have, everyone's answering this question.
That's a very good question, Linda. And first thing we need to do is we need to get our behinds out of the seat and get them back on the streets. We need to be able to knock on doors and get people excited again about their district. We need people to take responsibility of their district and show their individual leadership with their families and their communities as well. Motion creates emotion, and we need to emphasize that with our district.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I think the one thing that we need to do is to instill value into each and everybody's opinion. For so long, this district has been kind of put at the back burner of most of the city's plans. It's time to let the citizens know that they are valued, that their feelings and their opinions do matter. We need to bring them out to the table where we listen to one another, where we discuss openly, and where we plan to be able to get them engaged in what they believe is a solution to their problems in their neighborhood. The district is not a district of one. It's a district of 135,000.
Thank you. Ms. Gonzalez?
The best way to get people involved is to ask them to participate. As we're getting to know our neighbors now, we can ask them, and then they tell us what their concerns are, and we can tell them, well, there's a meeting concerning that very thing, why don't you come? And a simple invitation by a caring citizen could be all that is necessary to get somebody involved.
Thank you. All right, this next question is also going to be directed to each candidate. Mr. Briones, you're going to start us off on the response. This question is posed by T.C. Calvert. T.C. Calvert, will you please stand? There he is. Thank you. Will you commit to $400,000 improvements to Normoyle Park softball complex? It is known to have much older structures.
TC, that's such a specific question. And I don't know if I'm qualified to answer that right now. I need to look at the budget. I need to look at everything else. I think Normoyle Park does need a lot of care and attention. As I mentioned before, we are going to prioritize things. I would, definitely look into funding it, making it a safer park, making it state-of-the-art. But I do need to look at the budget and see what's best for it. But TC, if I do get... If it already received bond money, then yeah, we do have to commit and make sure it happens. All it is just making a phone call and making sure it gets on top of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Ramirez.
Thank you for bringing Normoyle Park into the question. I grew up in the area. I had fond memories of Normoyle Park, the summers in the pool, even as a troublemaker doing community service and picking up the trash in the area. And so I think that is absolutely paramount for the people that live in the neighborhood. Children need a safe place to play. They need the same type of emphasis that are put on the other parks in San Antonio that receive much more funding and much more attention by the district leaders. And I fully agree with that 100%.
Thank you. Mr. Cardenas?
Sure. And you're right, Mr. Calvert, the $1.7 million in the bond should stay as allocated in that Normoyle Park area. One of the things on that senior, I believe they have $500,000 for the park and the rest going to develop a senior nutrition program. But I do believe that we need a senior nutrition program a little bit further north. We have South Presa in the south, but we don't have anything that's servicing the center of the community, of an aging community, and on a major metropolitan line, such as the 68, that can bring people to and from that senior multi-service center. So the commitments to redoing the park, yes. The commitments to the senior citizen, my personal belief is we should move it a little bit further north.
Thank you. Ms. Gonzalez.
I did get to attend a meeting the other night regarding Normoyle Park, and there are some exciting projects going on over there, and I think it's most important to get the citizens' interest in what they would like to see there. I think it has great potential, and I love running around the park and seeing all the activity there, and I hope that the people get to decide what goes there in the park.
Thank you. Mr. Garcia.
Yes, Mr. Calvert. There's actually $500,000 that have been allocated to that already. So yes, I have had the pleasure of being in attendance at 2 meetings and meeting with a civic ministry group from St. James, who was the ones who pushed that issue and made it become on the bond. That got that dedicated. We do need that there. And I'm also in agreement with Mr. Cardenas. We do need senior services further north and further west for our district. But those meetings and those people, they went out there, they got these things done. And these are the examples of going door to door, meeting with our communities, and how we're going to get things done. So yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this next question is also directed to each and every one of you. It'll be Frank Ramirez who's going to lead us off on the first response. This question comes from Richard D. Garcia. There is Richard. The question is, what are your short-term and long-term goals for the first 100 days in office?
Well, that's a very good question. We can go either way with that. I would say short-term, I would want to get in contact with all my constituents, at least the ones that are active, and take a proactive approach in trying to understand what's going on in their city government. Long-term, I would like to be able to introduce a new wave, a fresh new wave of representatives to come into city government to make the proactive approach even larger to benefit all the people of San Antonio.
Thank you. Mr. Cardenas.
In short term, some of the quick goals is to, number one, is identify some of the vacant lots and buildings in the district. During my block walking, I've realized that there was 4 fires set within a 1-block area, and nobody has addressed it in here in our community in this area. Also, by cleaning up empty lots and holding absentee landlords accountable, we can then improve the neighborhoods in a real short time. And the long-term goals is it's up to the residents to guide me and direct me as to what they want to see in their community, what they want to see in their district. Like I said, it is not just one person's district, it's your district. But to set those goals and priority, we need to set master plans in place for those areas so that we can have some sort of continuation from councilman and councilman.
Thank you. Ms. Gonzalez.
In short term, I would like to set up a quality team and staff. Secondly, we would set up small groups of citizens, concerned citizens, about specific projects around the districts. I would also like to establish good contact with all the neighborhood associations and all the concerned citizens. And long-term, with these meetings, once we have these short-term committees established, we can then determine what our long-term goals will be all together as a group.
Thank you. Mr. Garcia.
Mr. Garcia, it's pretty simple. Organization, organization, organization. What we need to do is find more people like you who step up to the plate to build Memorial Heights Neighborhood Association. We need to make sure that our staff in the city council office and the field office is qualified so that we can reach out. We need to make sure that all the boards and commissions are filled with quality people. And if we don't identify these first things and fulfill these short-term goals and do things that can actually be done by the office, then long-term goals are a fantasy. There will be addressing the symptoms over and over again. People want to be arresting people as opposed to educating them. Symptoms and symptoms is what we've been addressing. We need to get to the root causes of problems. And it's going to take a long time, but we need to get the ball rolling. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Briones.
Well, my short-term goals within the first 100 days is definitely to fill a competent bilingual staff from District 5 to be able to go ahead and address all your concerns, as well as to introduce myself to the community. There's a lot of candidates here, and if I do get elected, I don't want any divisiveness. I want to introduce myself and say, look, we're in it together for the next 2 years. Let's work together to build this the best district possible. I do want to fill all zoning and board commissions. I want to fill them within the first 100 days with very qualified people, the most qualified we can get. I do also want to have neighborhood coffees within the neighborhood to go ahead and introduce myself and to see how I can help. Long-term goals, I definitely want to increase police responsiveness time to District 5. I think it's atrocious right now. Also, I do want to prioritize sidewalks. I want to prioritize them where schools are first, senior center second, bus stops third. It's in a huge pedestrian district. I also want to create a mural district within District 5 to get some tourism, as well as to honor the rich history of District 5 and make it the best district possible. Thank you.
Thank you. This next question is directed to each and every one of you as well. Mr. Cardenas will lead us off in answering first. The question was presented by Henry Rodriguez. Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. The question is, what is your plan for safety from what we keep hearing? Are there any new ideas?
Well, public safety, as we already know, the public safety budget takes about 64% of the city budget. We need to go outside of that budget and look for weed and seed money, look for federal grants to boost up the fire and police protection, to go out there and improve the quality of the streets and the sidewalk. These are all things that we need to address, but with limited funds and without raising taxes, we need to be creative in being able to draw from other factors and from other monies that might be out there that can improve, especially a community such as District 5 that meets a lot of those grant requirements.
Thank you. Ms. Gonzalez.
My plan for safety would be to build strong relationships between the police department and the citizens. It's really together that we make our streets and our homes and our families safe, and we need open lines of communication between the police department and other city services so that we can take care of each other, and by communicating and working together, we keep each other safe.
Thank you. Mr. Briones. Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Garcia is next.
Plans for public safety, I again respectfully disagree. I've sat with the Firefighters Association and the Police Officers Association, and they've all told me these are the people with the boots on the ground, the people that do the work. They've all pointed out that there's millions of dollars that they could save us if we listen, if the council listened and just did not get bombarded by the management of the city. That there are ways to increase responsiveness to all sorts of dangers, whether they be crime or fire, that we can do this. So what we have to do is engage them, bring them to the neighborhood association meetings, increase the safe officer approach, increase involvement. Like our representatives have always said, we've got to communicate and we've got to be aware, and also focus on economic development. That will increase or reduce crime and increase safety as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Briones.
I think in terms of safety, it's increasingly important, and taking care of sidewalks, taking care of streets, as well as creating well-lit structures for our elderly. I think that's extremely important. I think you must be able to walk around in the community, and you have to be able to know everybody. While that's a little bit hard at times, I think giving the idea of safety, I think having you can have public runs monthly. You can get out there and get healthy. You can have bicycle tours. People want to be visible. I think District 5 is a very pedestrian, is a very bicycle friendly district, and we need to improve on that. I do think we maybe need to get some bicycle cops down over here, to help with a lot of the crime that you see on Guadalupe Street. So I think this district does not need to be neglected, and it needs the same sort of care and love as downtown does. And that's definitely what I want to do, and that's going to be one of my priorities for District 5. Thank you.
Mr. Ramirez.
I agree that this is a major issue in our district, and what we need to do is we need to get our neighborhoods more involved with co-ops, with the police department and other law enforcement agencies. We need to increase funding for our police officers and other law enforcement agencies and increase their salary. We need to get these officers to be more proactive, and we need to get our citizens more proactive in watching each other's back. If we're not going to be watching our neighbors' homes, how do we expect other people to watch ours? We need to we need to be more aggressive against these criminals who are taking an aggressive stance against violating our sanctity, and we have to be able to push back.
Thank you. This next question is directed to everyone again. The first one, Shirley Gonzalez, you'll be leading us off on this one. This question comes from Isabel Sanchez. Ms. Sanchez, thank you. Okay, question. How will you be different than voting unanimously on important votes that hurt District 5? In other words, why does District 5 keep sacrificing when the council votes unanimously for us? Or when will the council vote unanimously for us?
Thank you for the question, Ms. Sanchez. My vote would be representative of the vote of the public, of the district. And so whatever the wishes are of the district is what I promise to represent. So not just what the mayor supports, but what you all support is what I will vote on.
Mr. Garcia.
Ms. Sanchez, I can't promise anything about the other 9 members or 10 members of the council. I can promise that I will represent District 5. It doesn't matter whether you have a direct line to Barack Obama, I'll still represent the people of here. These representatives, we do not need somebody who's just going to go along for the ride. But we also need to start bridging that gap so that we can get them to recognize and realize and start gaining votes one by one by one so they can support us and stop ignoring the inner city. In 2009, our mayor ran saying that he was going to address the donut hole issue. We've done very little to address that issue, and we need to address it now, and that starts with us. Like our president said, we are the ones we've been waiting for. We need to take that responsibility. And as a representative, I would take the responsibility of District 5. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Briones.
I think it's very important to realize that for too long, District 5 has been neglected. I think what we need to do is elect a strong advocate. How I'm a strong advocate in the courtroom for my client, I want to be a strong advocate for the district. I want to definitely talk to other council members and sell them on ideas and let them know, look, this is in your own best interest. I do think the idea of having a unanimous vote is in a city as varied and with so many different needs is, while it's, probably, ideal, it isn't very practical. But I do want to talk to the other council people, their representatives of the district, and find some common ground. And if I'm going to vote, it's going to be for a reason. It won't be just to vote. But I think District 5 has a huge potential. I think the other city can find a lot of, assets in, being responsive to District 5's needs. It's close to downtown. There's huge potential for growth. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ramirez.
As I stated before, the District 5 representative needs to be a little bit more, actually not a little bit more, needs to be more assertive. We need to take more proactivity in representing the people of this district, and that means being able to stand your ground against the other seats that are looking to force their agenda at the cost of District 5. I agree with my other candidates here when they say that this district has gone neglected for far too long. It's time that we make our line in the sand and say that we're not going to be pushed around. We deserve the same type of funding and the same type of priority that's given to all the other districts in San Antonio.
Thank you. Mr. Cardenas.
Ms. Sanchez, thank you for asking that question. And you, more than anybody here, has seen me grow up in this neighborhood and stay in this neighborhood, supporting the community time and time again. You've seen me grow up from a little boy, and you know where my heart is. You know where my vote is, and for the benefit and the improvement of the lives of the people in District 5. And I will fight for what is important for us and stand up when it's wrong and address them and go toe-to-toe and eye-to-eye to address those issues. No nos vamos a quedar atrás, nos vamos a mover adelante, porque personas como usted, señora Sánchez, fueron las personas que son mis héroes. Gracias por todo lo que ha hecho usted en esta comunidad. Usted y Enrique también.
Thank you. This next question, again, is directed to each and every one of you. People do want to know your opinions. This question was brought by Maria Alfaro. Marie? Okay, thank you. Question: what part of District 5 that needs most help and improvement? Many small streets need improvements. Okay, what part of District 5 needs the most help and improvement? Because many small streets need improvements as well.
From walking the district in 2009 and walking the district currently, there are pockets all over that need a lot of improvement. My personal opinion is the Edgewood area. It's the least active, it's been ignored for several long. There's not as much organization as there are in the southern part of the district, and even the west part of the district. You hear a lot about Lanier, you hear a lot about Burbank. You don't hear a lot about Memorial or Kennedy. Those areas need to be addressed, and they need to be brought into the fold. So in my personal opinion, it's that part of our district that needs the most attention currently. Thank you.
Mr. Ramirez.
I think definitely the Edgewood district that needs a lot of support and help. I think a lot of these really visible corridors towards downtown need a lot of help and improvement. I think people need to be able to see when they go into District 5, clean sidewalks. They need to see trees. They need to see a nice area. I think that's what District 5 needs. And if you kind of improve these streets and sidewalks, you're going to go ahead and have an effect. Also, I think a lot of the districts, along District 3, the borders, we can go ahead and talk to those council people and see if they can have matching funds so we can double our money and get more bang for our buck. I think that's pretty important. But yeah, I would agree that a lot of parts of District 5 need help, but we do need to prioritize. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ramirez.
I think every aspect of District 5 needs to be undertaken. I've driven across District 5 time and time again, including my own street, where the streets resemble almost that of a third world nation. We need to take strong action towards rebuilding our infrastructure, because infrastructure is the keystone to viable commerce in our district. We need to take more of our funding and invest it back into our roads and back to our street lamps, our sidewalks, our community centers. We need to take pride in our district, and it starts right here.
Mr. Cardenas?
Well, if we start to address what are the most important needs, I'd like to be upfront in saying that our councilman not fighting for our streets puts us at a little bit of a disadvantage, but a little bit of advantage for the next bond issue. We only got 5.5%. That's from the entire package. So we need to prioritize those streets that need it. One of the reasons why I joined this campaign was a 16-year-old girl that told me, how can I believe in the mayor's initiative, Mr. Cardenas, when I walk to school and it's raining, I have to go through a river and my feet get wet because I have no sidewalks, I don't have good drainage. That's what we have to look at. Where don't we have the drainage? Where don't we have the streets where mobile wheelchairs can go, mobilized wheelchairs will go, and start addressing them and looking at other ways outside of the bond issue to address those needs.
Thank you. Ms. Gonzalez.
I'm an avid cyclist, and so I ride my bike all over the neighborhood, all over the district. The near west side where I live at Buena Vista and Zarzamora does have very special needs, and especially in terms of sidewalks and drainage. I walk to work every day, so I see that there is a terrible drainage problem, especially in that near west side. But I hope with an active constituents and active council member that we can address all of the needs in our district, and I hope I can be that person for you.
Thank you. We're going to keep asking questions as time permits, okay? So if we eliminate some questions, please know it's just in the interest of time. This next question is directed to each and every one of you. Mr. Briones, you're going to lead this one off. The question comes from Maria Salazar. Thank you. Question: what projects would you focus on first once you are on council?
It's a great question, Maria. I think probably the projects I would focus on first would be, definitely streets, crime, as well as jobs. I think, once again, going back to that idea of streets and getting into, a livable community, as well as a community that you want to be proud of, a community that's going to give you some dignity, a community that, where the 16-year-old girl going to school doesn't get her feet wet. We need to be able to definitely prioritize sidewalks in order of, bus stops. We have to cherish, our community members that are most in need, such as the elderly. We do need to go ahead and, in terms of senior centers, and focus on those. So sidewalks would probably be one of the projects that I do want to. There's a lot of quick projects that we can do, such as the mural arts district, such as community gardens. We do need to all come together to the table and see what's best for it. But I do want to bring in, some bold ideas, and I do want District 5 to definitely be the shining star of San Antonio. Thank you.
Mr. Ramirez.
Education is my main goal. Education is what brought me back from the social abyss that I was in. It helped me develop self-efficacy and self-respect. We need to rediscover that in our district. We need to get our people to realize their self-worth and to stand on their own 2 feet, and that starts with education.
Thank you. Mr. Ramirez. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Cardenas, my apologies.
That's fine. The immediately would have to be the crime in the area, especially the fires that are being set in the vacant homes. I feel that's a danger to our community, and especially here when their houses sit too close together. The second is the senior citizens. We need to find ways for them to mobilize a little bit easier, especially with the streets where they live. And then the other one would be the teen pregnancy programs. We need to be more proactive in our use and the teen anti-pregnancy programs so that we develop stronger youth and stronger characters from our youth, and we stop this cycle of teen pregnancy.
Thank you. Ms. Gonzalez?
The very first thing that I would focus on is making our streets safer and more walkable for our citizens. On Zarzamora, 8 pedestrians have been killed just walking across the street, walking to church. Children are walking to school. And my number one priority is to make safe, walkable streets for our citizens.
Mr. Garcia.
Mr. Salazar, I hate to sound like a broken record, but
Miss Salazar.
My apologies. Maria, I wrote it down too. My apologies. Neighborhood associations, communication, infrastructure, everyone up here, including myself, we've all talked about important issues, from crime to infrastructure to education. All of that is very, very important, but we need to get organized. We've got to have communication lines that are available to get through to council, all the way to the entire council, to the neighborhood associations, through building that alliance. That alliance is going to be the #1 project. From there, we will address everything else. Thank you.
Thank you. This next question is going to be directed first to Ms. Gonzalez and then to Mr. Briones. Oh, okay. We're going to change that and direct it to everyone, okay? The one who will lead us off then is going to be Mr. Briones. This question comes from Sam Sanchez. Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Why do we still have train traffic waiting problems? With all our technology, it still can't save us time.
It's a great question, Sam. I actually grew up across the street from a railroad track. I lived there for, I would say, about 20 to 30 years, and you know, I was constantly being awoken by railroad trains. I think it's a huge issue in District 5. I think generally what tends to happen with District 5 is that if you have a weak advocate, or if you have someone in there that isn't pushing for, you know, train responsive times, this is the type of stuff that happens. I think your definite answer would lie to, you know, representation. You want a strong advocate in there. You want somebody in there to talk to him and say, look, we shouldn't be living like this. There's 9 other districts that this isn't sort of a problem. And it's pretty much a shame, because whenever it seems like the city has a project that they kind of want to backdoor, they leave it in District 5. And we need to stop that. That needs to stop. You know, where are the jails? The jails are in District 5. You know, so I would want to be a strong advocate to stop that, to put an immediate stop to that, and to definitely, that would be one of my priorities with the railroads. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sam, that's a very good question. I ask that question every time I'm waiting. And it's funny to me, because we're 2013 and we're still using an antiquated source of transportation. That's a tricky question to ask, because that more or less lies on a federal level, and I'm not there yet. But I think that that is something that we do need to look at, because it's not only an inconvenience, but it also makes it a safety issue for a lot of people. And I, for one, would like to eliminate that problem altogether.
Thank you.
On the train response, I'd like to say that it can go away tomorrow, but unfortunately it's not. Our present councilman did not fight for the rights to have an overpass at Zarzamora and Frio City Road. There is a way to get around, if you know it, at Merida and Zarzamora. And he didn't push for quiet zones. I mean, I know there's residents that get woken up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And the train traffic with what's going on in the Eagle Ford Shell, and we having the switching yards just south on Quintana Road, it's going to increase, I'm sorry to say. But let's look at a way how we can develop a response to that, where we can have an overpass where it doesn't jeopardize the life of somebody who needs EMS across the tracks, or the safety about getting somebody trying to beat the tracks in the area. But those are true issues that are there on Zarzamora and Frio City Road, and also on Merida Street, which have to definitely address together as a community.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for asking this question, because I have asked it many times myself of our present councilman. Being an avid cyclist, we're often crossing the tracks, and I've seen children there waiting for the train to pass, and eventually just jumping over, trying to get to the other side to get home after school. And after not having much communication with the councilman, I asked several times, who do I need to talk to resolve this problem, because it's extremely dangerous when children are trying to walk past it. And I have never gotten an answer, but I do hope as your council person I'll be able to get that answer for you.
Thank you.
I don't know why we still have those problems with the technology with where we're at either. I often find myself waiting there in addition to several of us over here. And we've also brought this attention to our councilman before he was a councilman. He pledged to fight for it, and I guess we're not getting that response. The overpass that needs to happen on Zarzamora, that's very important to the traffic there, as well as commerce and all of our time. Time is the most valuable, one of the most valuable commodities that we have. And when we're spending it waiting for a train to pass by, we're not spending it with our families. We're not spending it on issues. We're spending it sitting down. So that issue does need to be addressed, as well as the quiet zone issue. However, I do think the quiet zone issue needs to be balanced and looked at further, because safety should still be the #1 priority. Safety of lives. I understand that it may be an inconvenience to be awoken, but I'd rather have somebody being awoken at night than somebody dead on the tracks. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this is question 10. This will be our final question. Now, we sorted through the questions, tried to pick the best ones that we could hear from each and every one of you. We still have more questions, but know that these will be posted on the website, and that way we will get some response for you for each of the questions from our candidates. Okay, question 10 comes to us from Kamala Platt. Thank you. The question is, what will you do to promote environmental health for the district? Do you have a green energy policy for the district? We can start with Mr. Briones.
You just started with me. I'm just kidding. That's a great question, Ms. Platt. I think definitely, reducing our reliance on nuclear energy, reducing reliance on coal and fuel. I think we do need to shift the burden to, solar. I think we do need to go green. I think, I mean, that's pretty much a no-brainer. The only reason why we're still not doing it is, all these corporations that, kind of had stranglehold on, politicians and things of that nature. But I do want to promote, environmental health, and environment isn't just energy, it's also our community. I want to, encourage people to go out, walk their district, walk their comunidad, talk to elders. I do want to encourage them to bicycle. I do want to encourage them to be healthy. So I think that's a great issue. It's, pretty important for District 5. It's important for the city as a whole. And I think that's something that we all need to rely on, and we all need to, focus on. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a very good question. That's a major area of my platform that I'd like to address. It's 2013, and we're still using antiquated fossil fuel burning technology. That needs to change. Green technology, biofuels, solar, all these were the wave of the future back in the 70s, and we have yet to really take this full steam ahead. And this is because of the influence that the current petroleum industry has on our current leadership, which is exemplified by the Eagle Ford Shell that's exploiting our Texas land and our resources. So a major part of my agenda would be to wake up to a new dawn and to remove these old antiquated methods, and nuclear is not the answer.
Thank you.
Well, you're right. Nuclear is not the answer, and putting a couple more $1 billion from CPS budget into a new nuclear plant is not in my plan or my future. There's new technologies out there that are emerging besides solar, wind. There's new technologies that are emerging every day. We need to explore those and those possibilities. Not only that, let's look at some research dollars to see what other options are out there, whether they're geothermal, whether there's other things, natural gas burning plants. But you're right, we need to take care of the environment, make sure we don't pollute our air, and keep our waters clean.
Thank you.
My greatest concerns for our community are safe walking streets for our citizens. And I would emphasize, first of all, walkable communities, secondly, cycling, third would be public transportation, and the fourth is private automobiles. And by walking and cycling, first of all, we don't do any damage to the environment. We also take care of our health. We get to see our neighbors, and we just in general feel better when we get to where we're going. And that's what I would like to do for our district, is make it walkable and cycling friendly. Public transportation would be our third most usable way to get around, and the fourth would be private automobiles.
Thank you. Thank you to all of our candidates. Who do,
Candidate.
That's quite
I apologize. My goodness.
Pretty good.
Sorry, Eric.
Sorry about that,
The
Mr.
question doesn't only affect District 5 or even the city or even our country. That's a global question, and thank you very much for asking it. Part of my platform when I ran in 2009 and my campaign slogan today is a new direction. Forward and inward. We've got to move forward as a community. We've got to come in. All of the things that they talked about encompass what the new direction is about. Build within, build our infrastructure so that we can have people move closer, so that we can reduce commutes, reduce stress, healthier lifestyle, more communication. Then we'll affect the environmental stuff. We can show people what they can do, how they can recycle more, where they can save not only money, but energy, efficiency, less commuting, more positivity, more growth. So I'll say it again, forward and inward, a new direction. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you to each and every one of our candidates. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for responding to the questions that we posed to you from the committee, and for the answering the questions from our citizens here. Please know that you can find us on Facebook, Citizens for Responsive Leadership in District 5, and in the website. Big thank you for all of the hours that were put into this, for putting this forum together, and to our special friends here at the Guadalupe Theater. Thank you so very much. This event has been recorded by NOWCast. By the way, if you signed up for NOWCast, NOWCast has a prize for you if you sign up for them today. Now, NOWCast is a public TV on internet. It's a nonprofit news organization. They've been a very special partner for us today. Thank you so very much. There's also binders at the foyer about each of the candidates. Please take some time to review them. You'll learn more about them there. So this concludes this candidate forum.